Hey guys, Pete here. Today I'm going to make a dark video to follow up my family trees video I did last year. At the end of that video, I mentioned how many unanswered questions we have about the family connections in Netflix's Dark. And this video will look at those with some of the popular theories that surround them. I'm going to talk about everything we know with plenty of speculation, so this will contain spoilers if you haven't made it through the first 2 seasons of Dark. This would be your chance to leave if you wandered in here by mistake. The day after I made my video about the families, the team behind Dark released this official family tree. Theirs looks great, but it didn't really add any extra information to the dozens of fan-made ones that were already out there on the internet. Beyond the arrangement of the characters, what was really interesting about this one was the question marks that they added in some of the places. They really draw your attention to some of the people we don't know. I'm going to go around the family tree and talk about each of those question marks, some of the underlying mysteries, and the theories people have about these complicated family connections. We're obviously moving into new territory in Season 3, so this will only be discussing the families in the Vinden we spent the first 2 seasons of Dark getting to know. We can start at the bottom, and the first big question is, who is Regina's father? Claudia is the central figure in the story in her role at the power plant, her time as a traveler, and she earns the moniker of the White Devil because of her influence in her old age. The fact that they haven't revealed the father of her child seems intentional at this point. And out of all of these different questions, the popular theory for this one is pretty solid. Most fans would agree that Tronte Nielsen is the best candidate because we know they had a relationship. They knew each other as kids, and it's hinted that they have an affair as adults based on their interaction at the power plant. His wife was actually ready to leave him before Mads disappeared because she knew he was cheating. There's several questions surrounding Tronte as a character, and we'll get into that later, but here's what we know for him for sure. He's married to his wife Jana, and the father of Mads, who went missing in the 1980s timeline. His other son is Ulrik Nielsen, who is the father of Magnus, Marta, and Mikkel in the 2019 timeline. So if Tronte is Regina's father, that would connect the Nielsen and Tiedemann families. Mikkel Nielsen traveled through time and was taken in by Ines Conwald. That connects the Nielsens and the Conwald, and more importantly, Jonas to Marta. Since Marta and Mikkel were siblings, that makes her Jonas's aunt. The next question mark is in the Conwald family. Who's Daniel's wife, and why is she important? We've had mention of her in his conversations with Aegon at work, and we know their daughter. I think in this case it's hard to come up with theories, since we don't know why or even if she's important to the big picture. It's notable that they haven't revealed her identity, and that they made the choice to add a question mark here on this family tree. After all, we don't know who Hannah's mother is, but her father, Sebastian Kruger, doesn't have a question mark where his wife's name would be. One female character that might be a candidate is Celia. She fits in somewhere, and there's a possibility that she might have a child in Season 3, which I talked about in my The End is the Beginning video. But there isn't enough groundwork to turn this into a solid theory. Celia is a mysterious character. We know she is Elizabeth's sign language interpreter in the 2050s timeline. And we know from this blurb on the Dark Netflix 2053 Instagram account that Elizabeth is also her foster mother. Her image appears on Adam's big photo wall below the main families off to the side of Noah and Agnes. That hints that there might be more to learn about her, but doesn't tell us much else. The other place she might fit in is in the Doppler family line. We don't know who Peter's mother is yet. In this case, most of the theories revolve around where Peter came from since he arrived in Vinden in 1987, and if Helge is actually his father in the first place. Based on his diminished state, some fans have questioned if he would have been able to father a child. The simple answer is, of course he could. Helge wasn't a bright kid, his mother was cold and possibly cruel, and he certainly experienced trauma at the hands of Ulrich as a child. None of that really translates to him being unable to have a relationship though. And we don't know what he was like as a young man in the 33-year gap. He was manipulated into doing terrible things by Noah, and it's possible that that wasn't his only interaction with travelers. Peter Strange's backstory of coming to town in 1987 without any other details has led some fans to speculate that he's a time traveler himself. It's certainly possible, and the fact that his teenage photo on Adam's wall is in black and white makes you wonder. The thing that contradicts this is that he seemed unaware of time travel before he witnessed Mad's dead body arriving at the bunker. You could say that maybe he traveled as a child like his wife Charlotte, so he didn't have a memory of it, but then what is the point of having him arrive in 1987? Before we move on to the biggest question I have, it's worth pointing out that Greta Doppler hinted that Helge might not be Bernd's biological son. As far as we can tell, he raised him as if he was. But Greta told Noah that he was not conceived in love. The theory is that she may have been raped, but there isn't any evidence pointing to a prime suspect. That leads us to the last question mark, and arguably the biggest question of all: who is the father of Tronte Nielsen? His mother Agnes is also a mystery, and we don't know who her parents are either. She's Noah's sister. We saw her as a child in the 1920s timeline, and she returned to Vinden in the 1950s timeline, renting a room with Egon and Doris Tiedemann. There's been a lot of speculation about who Noah and Agnes's parents were. One of the most popular theories is that it's Magnus and Franziska. We know they do travel to the past. We know they're part of Sic Mundus in the early days, putting them in the right place, but it seems odd when we meet Noah and Agnes that they're being raised by Erna rather than their parents who are in that same time. If this was the case, then the Nielsen family would be a loop like the Dopplers, which it would also be connected to through Franziska. When Agnes and Tronte arrived, she described her husband to Doris as a pastor who wasn't a good man. Tronte had mysterious burns on his arm that were never explained. They look like cigar burns and could be signs of self-harm or signs of an abusive father. As far as who that father is, the most popular theory has been that it's Bartosz. This is primarily because he's an important character that we imagine would pair up with someone. In my mind, he doesn't seem like someone who would burn their child, but as mentioned, we don't really know what's going on with the injuries. They do factor into the most recent theory, which is that the new character who appears as a trio in the new trailers could be Tronte's father. In the little bit of footage we see, the characters come off as menacing, and they may be capable of harming children. At the same time, we don't know much about them, so it's really just a guess at this point. Either way, this new version of the family tree that showed up in the trailer brings up a lot of questions because it's mirrored in the middle and joined with an infinity sign. Agnes is the character who's connected to that sign, with her son branching off from there. This has led people to think that perhaps whoever Agnes's mate is may be involved with whatever happened to cause these two worlds to split off in the first place. Another thing about this family tree that I won't go into too deeply is the character Boris Niewald, who takes on the identity of Alexander Kohler and then marries Regina and becomes Alexander Tiedemann, who later is running the power plant. Boris just shows up in the woods, and you could really make a whole video about this, so I don't want to go too far. One of the things I know will get posted in the comments if I don't bring it up, though, is that his last name is Niewald, which if you put the name Nielsen and Conwald together, you get Niewald. This is a curious thing that they decided to do. There's definitely more to this character that we have to learn, but I really don't even have a favorite theory here. I think it's safe to say that Boris was manipulated by time travelers. He's carrying the gun that will eventually be used by Adam to kill Marta, so he has a connection there. Whether he is a traveler himself or if he was just put on his path by somebody who was working behind the scenes for either Adam or Claudia remains unclear. But fans really enjoy this idea that his last name is Niewald, and some speculate that perhaps even though Hannah is in her late 40s when she travels back in time, might have a child and may give them this name as a combination between Ulrich's last name and hers. Beyond that, there's just one last thing I want to mention, and then I'll wrap it up. On Adam's board, there's one character who's never been identified. I can't even really tell if it's a female or a male. It looks like a young girl to me, but I've seen a lot of people refer to it as a boy, and you really can't tell. It's above the families, it's to the side of where the missing children are, and I'm really curious as to who this is. So let me know in the comments if you have any good theories about this, because it's strange that there's just one picture on this entire thing that we can't really agree on. So with that, I'll end it here. I hope this clears up any additional questions you had about the family tree. If not, please ask them in the comments. I'll try to answer as many as I can. Let me know how you think each one of these mysteries will be solved, what your favorite theories are, and who you're hoping who's involved in the unrevealed parentage of these characters. Let me know what other theories you got kicking around in your head and what you're looking forward to in season 3 when it drops in just 9 more days. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter or Instagram if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you soon.